of years. You're someone that really cares about this planet. And you are having a lot of success in working with landowners, helping them with different options in redeveloping their land versus selling them off to other people that may not necessarily do that.
Yeah, it's the company is always pivoting, I guess, to match the demand of the people. And I started it off. You mentioned about caring about the planet, and I think a lot of people out there want to do good in the world. They want to do well in business, and they don't have the time to do any volunteer work. And I met a lot of people in my travels that were saying that, because basically my company is based on a book I was writing since I was a teenager. It's a book I never finished. I ended up becoming the main character of the book, and I've been traveling the world now. I've traveled over 500,000 kilometers to learn about different technologies for sustainability. And when I launched the company 12 years ago, we immediately started acquiring development rights on lands everywhere I went. So every time I did a presentation to mayor and town council, there's always someone in the audience that would meet with me later and say, I'm a very wealthy business person and everyone knows me in the community. You need to come back and meet with me privately. I'd go back and meet with them. They donate hundreds or thousands of acres of land, allow me to put in the proposals to do any type of project that we wanted. And the whole business revolved around something called eco parks.
Eco-parks.
Eco, so economical and ecological, environmentally friendly, sustainable. How to harness the natural resources available, not only on your land, but where your land is located, and looking at concentric circles out from that GPS coordinate, 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer, 20 kilometer, and start creating energy, clean water, sustainable food production, complete independence on that GPS coordinate. So every school could do this, every hospital could do it, but basically every community has enough land. You only need 4 acres to do this in any property anywhere on the planet. And so the book was transformed, I guess, into this company. I quit my job working for the engineering firm I was at, and I started promoting and getting hired as a consultant, not doing any sales. But over the years, in Ontario, they developed this feed-in tariff program to sell electricity to the grid, and that became a super hot topic. Yeah, and I know your experience in the wind turbine industry and such. A lot of red tape, a lot of fake investors and fake programs, and government fighting government, and nitpicking, and taking 5 years to do a project that should take 5 weeks. It was just enormous.
Ego's getting in the way because of corporate, what should I say, greed. I love money, but not when it starts to have that much detriment.
Yeah, and I saw it firsthand, because we had $800 million in projects. I was a one-person company at the time, working on a laptop, no office, just working from my laptop and my cell phone. I represented just under 5% of the entire application capacity for the province of Ontario. And people were giving me their land, so they were saying, do whatever you want. Well, if you build an eco park, the first thing you do on your bare land is start making money. How can you make money right away? What can you develop the fastest way possible? Naively thinking that the government of Ontario would be fun and easy to work with, we started doing the applications for doing solar, or some of the people were interested in the wind turbines, but really solar's the easiest thing to get up. Yeah. And it would take 5 years to develop a solar farm in Ontario. Still.
5 years to develop a solar farm in Ontario?
Yeah, absolutely nightmare. Unbelievable how mismanaged the program was here. So we created our own program. The program ended in Ontario, and I thought, but why should it end? We will develop our own program. So we launched our own program. We have our own investment network. We have unlimited funding worldwide, multi-billion dollars backing us. Any project, any GPS coordinate on the planet, we can go and do. And now what I ended up doing was in January, when we started, or even November, when people started getting infected with this virus, and I have got a second life, a background is in infectious disease and pandemic preparedness, US training. So what we've done is we've created a business model now where people can start making money on their land right away by building an eco park, but making it a place to live or a place to rent. And so you can have, so looking at the success of the Airbnb era, which is now completely morphing, but we've got all the data from all the Airbnb sites worldwide. We scrape all the data off the website and other huge vacation websites. We can see what people were paying, what the current rates are for that area, pictures of the units themselves. But we're building our own units now, so we can have them shipped to any location. We can build them modular in size, shipped, ready to start making money. We can guarantee the minimum amount of money that someone can make per year. So like, I'll give you an example. We were looking at the concept of tiny homes before, and we don't like that word because investors don't see big money in tiny homes. So
No.
we converted the concept of tiny home into sustainable living, basically, and it could be large home. It could be large. So we can do, like, let's say it's $100,000 home, by generating 36,000 a year in revenue at 45% vacancy rate, was pretty sexy. Our investors give money. I just did another deal today, so it's over $1 million in the last 2 days. Just people want it, they want this. So they look at the insides of the properties. We do the presentation. Same day sales, they hire us as a consultant right away. And then we start looking at what are the natural resources available in the area. Are you using propane for heating, or oil, or natural gas? Are you, oh God forbid, using the electrical grid for any thermal needs?
Oh my gosh.
A lot of people do it. 99% of our province uses for doing some form of thermal energy conversion on the property,
So
whether it's refrigeration, air conditioning, heating,
that's
making
what we
hot
saw.
water.
I find it fascinating because, Robert, when we met, right? And you know what? I'm a huge believer that this planet can heal itself. And I'm a huge believer that we're in some shifting change right now. And sometimes when you have these catastrophes that happen, there are also opportunities for the world to wake up a little bit. Some of that's happening right now. Okay, all right. Because I'm typically look at the glass half full. That doesn't mean that we just sit back and kick our heels up. We got a lot of work to do. And what you just shared, because we have a similar kind of background coming from that corporate world, you've been in there from, being a microbiologist, almost equivalent to an MD, on paper or no paper. You have that knowledge. And then you came with experience, understanding that, you know what, there are choices and options out here. And then your whole entire last 10-year journey, if you will, with uncovering it, proving it out, and doing it. You're right. There's politics that go at play, because I've hit that politics head to head. But to know that, I've always looked at Canada is such a beautiful, large, big country, but we are married to the grid. And that's why we have so much demographic around this hydro line. But hydro is not the only option. And we are now in 2020 going into 2021. So those that are looking for other alternative solutions, and the demand is increasing and increasing and increasing, they're ready for looking at solutions. It's just a matter of bringing
And
that
people
in.
need to forget everything they thought about green energy, because what happened in the province of Ontario and is still happening here are mismanaged programs,
Yes.
mismanaged sales reps that are overcharging for equipment. You can get stuff, and now, like, we have our own program, and like the funding, I said, we can install stuff on someone's property and have us pay us back over the next 15 or 20 years, even if it has a 3-year payback. We had one client that needed 150 grand. We lent them over $1 million. They refinanced their home, they refinanced their credit lines, their debt, they packaged it all together, and they do one low monthly payment. It sounds like someone selling investments, but what we're doing is we're selling a new way of life. And the idea that, do you want to retire on your own land? Do you want to acquire land anywhere in the planet and build? So one of the couples that we're dealing with now, they've got a huge, like, several hundred acre site, and we're building, they just bought 3 more homes off us. So we're going to be installing the homes. They're going to be connected to we call it a smart hybrid microgrid. So
Okay.
even what people
Smart
think
hybrid
about
microgrid. Okay.
grids, nanogrid and picogrids are what we specialize in. You don't have to be connected to the grid. You could even be off grid. We do hybrid, so it's on grid, off grid, with automatic switching systems based on the time of day, the time of use, the time of energy, the cost of energy, and so forth. Automatically switching. I've been to seminars with Enbridge, Union Gas, OEB, Hydro
Oh,
One, all these
they're
people,
clients of mine, former
the
years.
executives on stage say the technology doesn't exist yet. And I say, well, you've never left Ontario, have you? You just got to leave, go to Mexico. They're 20 years ahead of us. Mm-hmm.
Robert, I remember years ago when I sold into the government, and obviously similar because and I'm in all 22 ministries, and I'll never forget, they would always showcase technology. And this is going back 15, 16 years. It might even be longer. I'm dating myself. And I remember Sony coming in and they were showing the hologram. That was at least 15 years ago. I knew that because of the project that I did on the wind energy, which was, a ton of fact find data, because you don't just jump into this stuff and think, okay. I mean, that was a journey. That was a journey, and the learnings in that journey. But when I did the government's exercise where I had to figure out how much, how much carbon really are we really releasing? Because we know the moment we got off the grid, oh yeah, it's great. No, we got diesel, honey. And because we're in climate change, and we look at, we got the boreal forest, we got to protect them, but climate change. So there were initiatives that we were doing with the LRC and the Land and Resource Cluster and Ministry of Natural Resources, which is where a lot of those attack camps, in terms of, we have to have people that fight those fires. So they had 7 attack base camps, MNR, off the grid up in the Boreal Forest. One of them wanted to do our project with us. They wanted, because we were looking we were beta testing at that point. So all of that homework and data and so on, I had to do a little, basically the footprint. I couldn't believe when I started to see how much carbon was being released. So you do the homework of the government, and you go in and you present it to the political players, because I was looking for direction. And we got what we needed at the end of the day, but it was just mind-boggling, because we live in this beautiful country that could have room, and we can live a little bit off the grid, or we can start to create other communities that were not plugged into that hydro line. And the solutions are out there.
Yeah, they're everywhere. And the problem that we have is organized crime is so embedded in our own governments at the municipal level, all the way up to the federal level. And it's not our government's fault. People can be voted into power and not realize that the people pulling the strings actually will pull a gun on you too. I've had guns pulled on me already. I tried to help Toronto community housing. I tried to help hospitals. I tried to help schools. But there's people on those school boards and hospital boards, and people in what they call embedded in your city hall. They will tell you, don't you dare cut the energy bill in half for that condo tower, because we've got some of the largest property management companies on the planet are here in Canada. And if you do one building, it take away $10,000 a month out of their payment plan, because they're getting maintenance fees that include electricity, water, and waste management. The government doesn't like to talk about how dirty the clean energy industry is. It's just sustainability, period. It is so filthy right now with dirty money. You can't take it away from them. So what I try to do is forget it.
Yeah,
it's not my fight. You have to pick and choose your fights. So now I just deal with private clients. Who wants it? I do. Okay, hands up. Let's get started.
Honest to goodness, Robert, that's what resonated with me. And that's what got to the point. I had so many people over the years say, when I'd sold into the government, oh, you should work for them. I'd look at them. I'm like, they'd fire me in 20 seconds because I am no follower. I'm more of I'm that change agent. And I'll be the underdog. And I've won as the underdog because I care at the end of the day. There's 4 pillars that I stand on. I stand on the pillar of, I do believe in beyond spiritual karma will come back and kick you in the rear end. So careful what you do. We're all humans and the ego can get in the way. So we all have to check ourselves some days. I do believe that there's 2 schools of thinking right now in our world, the old school and the new school. And the old school is very much of the capitalist. I want money, 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 money. I love money, but do for the good, people. I do truly believe you could build just as big of an organization doing for the good and have corporate responsibility and give back. And we actually are creating a much better place, an environment. It's not just that little widget. I do totally believe in the corruption that goes on, and it's systemic across the board. But I am aware of, there's some interesting shifting going on. We're in this transparent world now. So, for all those that are kind of thinking of it, so to give, well, we know that, first of all, I knew Canada is one of the most still economical places to purchase real estate, but it's 25% of our economy. Well, I don't really want to see people continue to get milk. If they have options to keep their land and develop it, that's a phenomenal option for them. They have a lot of commercial buildings. They're private. They still got to pay those bills.
We could even do roofs now. Like I've got a program working with City of Toronto. I've talked about the corruption and the problems, but there's still people you could work with. So I've got projects now in the City of Toronto, industrial, like commercial buildings. They're not using it. And I put up my hand, excuse me, can we develop it? We'll own it. If you don't want it, can you let us do it? But they want it because there's so much money involved, they take it. So now we're looking at actually getting and renting out the roof space of industrial and commercial buildings. They're not even using it. They may have tenants on the inside, but the landlords weren't thinking outside of the box. And they say, wait a minute, I can make $50,000 a year more on this roof space than I'm making. Yeah, they don't understand that you got to think outside of the box, right? Think beyond those boundaries. So one thing when I met with you is I don't understand all the different types of people that you deal with. You have a vast network, and how can I apply my skills into that network to help? Or are there any clients in there that are interested in the services that we have? And so one thing I think that you were mentioning the word, like how things resonate with us. If people have land and it was for sale, and so you've introduced me to a couple of clients like that, and we say, well, what is your goal? Do you want 500 or 700,000 cash? Because we'll give you that. You keep your land. You'll still own it. But we'll give you the 500 or 700 or 1 million, like this one lady, we gave her 800,000 more than she needed. Keep it. We'll just develop 4 acres of it. You've got a 100-acre site. Let us use 4, and your whole, not only are you going to build these beautiful homes that could be off grid? But your own home, existing home, how much are you paying now for your bills? 10,000 a year on propane or natural gas heating or electrical heating or air conditioning and the electricity itself. Everything will be still connected, but disconnected. We use the grid, whether it's a natural gas grid or a water grid or the electrical grid, as the backup. Just be self-sustainable, use that as backup. Use the grocery store as your backup, especially in COVID. Use them as the backup. Only go there in emergency. Grow your own food, your own herbs, have your own clean water systems, have your own energy, everything, self-sustainable, and waste management.
Yeah. And I know, so you ask an excellent question, and that kind of is like, how can, you help serve clients and what do we do and so on. So essentially, Robert, I have two companies. I have a consulting company that used to help companies grow. I've had that since 2010. And that actually went into real estate. That's why I partnered up with Roy. Roy and Cindy is now my partner here for Hamilton and Halton. What is it? Well, first of all, in real estate, I don't really believe in the old traditional one person running out there and trying to do everything. That's because of the background I come from. So we run it more like a business, and we are really about setting people up for success. We have a pretty large base when I look at Kitchener, Roy's clients. So we got a lot of clients that have land. I'm just thinking of one gentleman right now. Cindy works with our clients, especially anything that we list. So he has 100 acres. I think it's 100. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 100 acres. She'll keep me correct. Now it's just outside of Barrie. We haven't even talked about that. He is someone I strongly feel that we need to get this in front of. On top of that, we're starting to work with some developers. So developers is a whole other discussion. I have a cousin that has direct relationships with a handful. They do a lot of work. They own 3 companies. They do internal custom kitchens and baths. They just bought 10 acres and they've been running that. But they also have connections with developers. So developers have land. Well, developers, and when you really think about the pure marketing and audience, and it's all about, like, real estate is all about supply and demand. We get that. So an audience coming in now, and you think about the younger generation, they actually care at the end of the day. So they are looking for, oh, I don't have to pay that much on utility. They want options where they don't have to put as much out of their pocket, and they're being in the environment kind of where they are. It's green solution, if you will, and they are very much more open to this. So we have all of that that's coming up the way. I'm a dot connector. I am truly one that cares, and I will connect those that have the best practice thinking with the right people on the audience. So that's kind of who we are. We have a good footprint. We're in about 8 cities right now. We have probably sold over just under 2,000 homes over the last number of years. But a lot of our clients, my partner, and you've met Roy, developing. And Roy knows what he knows. He doesn't know what he doesn't know, but always open-minded. So we're learning. The timing is right. Smart communities, options. We know we're still up against a little on the grain because we get the traditional thinking, but we're in 2020 now. So I see people embracing more of this. And it wasn't that long ago that we connected, Robert. So it's a privilege for me to be able to bring you into the community. It's not the first time I'm going to do it. And these conversations that we've had, there are people that we have connections with that have land that we will be brokering the intros.
Nice. Yeah. I look forward to it. One thing we didn't touch on about throughout all this is the projects that we are able to develop. We're able to develop to be pandemic safety zones. So all the technology equipment, all the bells and whistles that make that real estate property now a safe place for people to go. And it's exciting because whether it's someone who's sick that needs a place to go and have convalescence, or if it's someone who just wants to be safe away from everything else, it's safe, it's antivirus. So my training and the documentary movie that I did 20 years ago for CBC on pandemics and airborne viruses was just talking about how Canada's not prepared for it. They're still not prepared for it. And we can't rely on government. They're giving in my opinion, in my professional expert opinion, they're doing everything wrong. And they could be sued. The government of Canada could be sued for their mistakes, especially with the long-term care homes, because in my professional expert opinion, they gave the wrong directives, the wrong orders to those homes. That's why 28 military personnel got sick.
I agree.
They don't have the right technology in those places. Forget about the personal protective equipment. It's not about that. No. It's about, and you can't blame the government and the healthcare issue, because those military got sick now. They didn't get sick last year. They got sick.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. So I just want to welcome a gentleman that just joined us, Mark Purdy, who Mark and I have a bit of a history. Mark is an amazing gentleman, amazing professional. And Mark, similar to yourself, Robert, so just for those that are watching, and Mark, you've not met with Robert before, this is Robert Laporte. Robert Laporte is the founder and CEO of Neutopia. And Neutopia is, and I'm going to actually have you just do the quick explanation of Neutopia.
Of like what the word means, or the business itself?
ecoSOULTIONS.
So, yeah, so it's a sustainability company, and we can develop any type of project with regards to sustainability: water, waste, energy, harnessing all the natural resources in any area, any GPS coordinate on the planet, fully funded. So we can go into any site, develop the project, and have the client pay us back over 20 years or whatever. And it's a great business model for anyone that just wants it. They have to just want.
That's right. And for Mark, so Mark and I have been doing a number of events together, if you will. So Mark is an expert in the arena of real estate investing, to the point where he figured out what the right vehicle is to make the most amount in the short, your year-over-year ROI. Because when you invest in real estate, a lot of people just look at maybe one or two components, and they don't realize there's a lot of components to kind of look at. So Mark's done the go in there, fix it up, and he realizes, I'm not the general contractor, don't want to do that. So Mark, over the last number of years, has done a number of investing in pre-construction. And Mark and I connected because Mark cares, and he used to go out to realtors across Ontario to just educate them on investing. And he would find it fascinating that very few realtors kind of understood it. Not to mention, there was also a number of realtors that never even owned their own home. And it didn't, and I thought, to me, it's always a solution. You got to think outside of the box, but it's okay. I just know that we're doing, so who we are that full service real estate. I call it a practice because I truly feel that real estate's the last frontier, and I love technology that's just gone into it because it needed a wake-up call. It's a huge decision when somebody thinks about buying or selling. You're going to just give the business to the first person that knocks on your door. That's okay. That's not me.
You mentioned something about the next generation coming up. To interrupt you rudely, I did, but just to add and complement what you're saying, the next generation that's coming up wants a lot of these smart technologies. And you can't look at Canada or the United States for the smart tech. You can't look at Silicon Valley. They're 20 years behind Mexico, right, and it's light years behind what's happening in Malaysia and Singapore. Go to those countries and you're going to feel like you're visiting Star Trek. They're so far advanced. You even mentioned this morning I had a conversation. I was at another development site, and we were talking about the holograms. And I was at a trade show, and there was holograms that looked, these beautiful women were at the booth and they weren't there, but they looked like they're there.
18 years ago, I saw that in the tech world. And for those that are watching, I mean, Robert and I have we don't have the direct past, but there's some similarities. And I've been in, I kind of grew up in technology, if you will. I knew I didn't have the patience to get into developing, but I understood the concept. I was more sales and marketing. I went down the path of sales, but I got into more solution selling because I cared about, so I would sell what people knew, best practice, and they would go in and help an organization. And it just so happened that I did a lot with the government. So you start learning a number of things. And the green energy solution, we kind of go into that road. So you're right, there's options at the end of the day, but those technologies have been around. And because we are, we live in a beautiful country, but we have choice at the end of the day. So there's nothing saying that we can't look outside of Canada for solutions. And for those that are looking, my first point of contact would be Robert, would be yourself. Robert, we have people that are even contemplating, investors that are coming to us, and they may be thinking about, we might even be thinking about acquiring the land, but we need options for it. I feel exactly like yourself. We're not going to sit there and wait for the government. We're going to get out there and do it. We're going to get out there because it's generally private that fixes the problem majority of the times.
Yeah, and I'll add something to that about the government. A lot of people didn't know who Huawei was until they arrested someone from Huawei on these conspiracy theory stuff or conspiracy charges of spying and what have you. No one really knew who Huawei was a few years ago. Many people today still don't know that they have more cell phones on the market than Apple. Yeah. People don't understand it. I use Huawei technology. I love it. Huawei. I have an Apple phone, but in my services that we provide to our clients, absolutely, we sell them Huawei technology for their buildings, 100%. They're so far advanced, and it's just like Hyundai and yes. LG. Most people know as LG is, my TV is LG. Hyundai makes automobiles. Yeah. No, Lotte, LG, Hyundai, Samsung build neighborhoods, and they build smart neighborhoods better than anyone does in North America.
Well, you and I were talking about, the proposal, if you will, that was put forward for the city of Toronto. And then when we learned that, ooh, that's a little bit dated, but when we look at the name behind it, yeah, it's dated. So that's another, great, like people, I love for people to know the truth.
I'm glad you brought that up because you're probably feeding me to say something that I didn't mention yet.
That's,
We were so upset about Alphabet, Google, building a smart neighborhood in Toronto when Toronto or Ontario in general has enough talent in their high schools to do a better job than what Google was planning at the Toronto waterfront. Our kids are so smart. I'm a guest speaker at a lot of colleges and universities right across Canada, all over the world. I've been to South Korea, given lectures, Japan, Mexico. But let me tell you, we were so excited that there was a lot of people interested in the concept of a smart neighborhood. So we went and did it. Last June, we finished it. It took us 2 months, connected to the grid, ribbon cutting ceremony, mayor, city councilors, all super confidential. Nothing is on the internet about it. Unless you know us, you meet us, we show you pictures. It's a demonstration site now for our clients. So we have clients same day that go to that smart neighborhood project, look at the technologies, come back and sign on the dotted line with us right away with a deposit.
so let me ask you this, because
Concept.
so what region would that be in?
North, like around the Owen Sound area.
Owen Sound. So let me ask anybody that I may come across. So that's already, how would, because I love that. I would much rather show someone or share with someone, because if they ask, this is what's been done. So
yeah, I have a PowerPoint presentation I do right here in Toronto. When a client is interested, they come in, they see the PowerPoint presentation, and they're interested. They see the pictures, they see video right away. When they're our client, and when we know everything's legit, because there's 99% of the people out there are fluff, and so we've experienced it. But they come and visit these sites when they're for real. When they're our client,
yeah,
they come, and it's a training site, training center. They get to see all the different technologies. It's beautiful.
I would love to have you back. You want to be able to showcase that.
I think the screen froze there.
To have a few people. There's some people that were not able to make it today to be able to view that. And bear with us for 1 second. So for those that are watching, and Robert may reconnect, hopefully we don't lose him, but we have Robert Laporte with us today. Robert Laporte is the CEO and founder of Neutopia. And Neutopia, I'm going to make sure that everybody that's watching has an opportunity to just check this site and so forth. But at the end of the day, they're green.
Hello?
Are we back? Whoops. So Robert's frozen right now, folks. So if we lose Robert, we are going to invite Robert back. But for everybody that's watching, and what Robert is sharing, it's as real and it's so accurate. Folks, for those that are watching, and we had lost Robert, so apologies, he might be able to pop back in, but I just want to share a few things here. We have let me get back over here. I'm not used to doing things. Okay, I'm just going to keep us on the grid here. Okay, so Robert Laporte had joined us today. Robert's the CEO and founder of Neutopia. Neutopia, folks, and since I have everybody on the line, what I will do is I'm going to share with everybody what is Neutopia. I'm far better if it's in front of me. And I'm going to just share with everybody a little bit about Robert's company, what he does. And I would encourage everyone on here, just look into it further. If you have friends that have land, if you know of people that have land, if you know developers, if you are a developer, if you have friends that are developers, they're going to want to connect and they're going to want to check this out. The demographics that are coming up that are in the 20s and the 30s, and I would even say the 40s for me and the 50s, I care about our land and I want to see more green energy solutions. And I honestly, and I always believed that we could build communities off the grid. Or if you're on the grid, you can cut your utility bills down by a massive amount. And I knew that the technology existed. Robert was a microbiologist, equivalent to an MD. He has been, for the last 12 years, building his company, building up the organizations, bringing in organizations that have these types of solutions. And what does he do today? This is Robert's company. So if you'll bear with me all, I'm going to share you, and hopefully everybody can see the screen. This is Neutopia, folks. They are about transforming sustainable problems into social solutions. They can build smart communities. And what we just learned is Robert has a smart community that's already been built in Owen Sound they showcase. So and what he has been telling me, and I know this has been evolving, he has been building these, growing these because the solutions exist. One of the things that we've always stressed to our clients and customers on the real estate side is, folks, it doesn't cost you any money to do your homework. So if you want to know if there are options that exist, can I live off the grid, or how can I reduce my utility costs? Now, the work that Robert does is in, he might look at a neighborhood or a group, but there are options and solutions at the end of the day. I think the biggest takeaway that I've learned from Robert is that, and I'm just going to take you guys all off of this, the biggest solution that I've learned from Robert is, if you have land or you want to buy land or consider it, not only would you have a choice to be able to maybe live on a portion of that land, you could lease out the other portion. So we have a client of ours, they own about 100 acres north of Barrie. I remember they came to us about a year ago, and they were curious as to what could we do with this land? What's the value of it? So we took a closer look at it. We connected with one of our realtors that live closer in that area. And there wasn't a lot that we could really think of. Then fast forward, now being familiar with Neutopia, now we just opened up he's got a lot of options. So it's important now for me to get this gentleman introduced to Neutopia. Of another very dear colleague of mine, and she has over 100 acres out in the Ottawa region. For everybody that's watching, folks, I want you guys to know that when it comes to environmental planning, our water grids, what we're doing with our municipalities, folks, it's pretty important. We sure as heck don't want to be flooding day in, day out going forward in the future. I have very bright minds that work with me. One gentleman, his name is Kevin Duguay. He has his own consulting company. He specializes in planning. Spent 25 years with the city of Peterborough, then went on his own. The city of Peterborough, I don't know for those of you that are watching, but it had a flood a number of years ago. Well, that's because the plan hadn't been visited in 100 years. So all of these municipalities, folks, my background, I sold into the government for years. So the plans are important. We are in climate change. We don't want to keep having floods. But we also now have options where we don't all have to be plugged into the grid. Or if we are plugged into the grid, we still have options that can save immensely on what we put out on utility costs. And I would be hard pressed to think that a lot of people that own buildings, property management, own buildings of whatever sort, not a bad idea to be able to having that savings, if you will. But I think more importantly, for those that are really entrepreneurs, visionaries that are watching, you think about, what can I do with 20 acres? Prove it out, get a smart community growing. The next one, prove it out, get a smart community growing. Folks, in the year of 2008, all the way to the year of 2012, I was involved in a green energy project solution that would have been at a global footprint. And we had developed what we called a hybrid solution that was a vertical wind, not the big, huge turbines, but a smaller one. And we were tying it in with solar. And we were doing it for a very significant reason. And the findings that I uncovered was incredible, with just opportunity in Canada, because we are in we have so much land and so much that we could evolve. And I'm not saying we're going and ripping out, no, just a little bit is all we need, but we don't need to be tied to the grid. That grid, folks, bless it for its time, but it has, there's always a life cycle to everything. So there's so many other solutions out there. I remember when I started to learn more about the HVAC systems and so forth, and heating and in Europe and what they did. And on North America, we try to retrofit these HVAC systems to get every room to be the right temperature, and it's flawed. It's not necessarily the best architected solution. So it's a difficult thing to get every room feeling the same. So the beauty is, right now, we've had so much wonderful intel come together, and we have eco-solutions that can be used. What Robert Laporte has done is he has worked with so many of these companies that have proven themselves out. They could be upwards of $1 billion. And those are the companies that he has in his network that want to invest in other solutions. So back in the day, they called me the dot connector. Why? Because if I see expertise over here and expertise here, guess what? They're going to get connected and introduced because we're all in this world together. No one person's owns another person. And I don't believe in the control. I believe in helping each other. So for those that know me, I have a lot of passion. I care. And believe me, I'm in this for the long haul. Because when I got into this industry, my company that helped companies grow, it was to grow, start growing this first. So all I'm going to say is keep watching us. We are going to have Robert back. Anybody that's interested in just learning a little bit about this, you want to connect with me. Connect with me. I'll get you connected directly. We're going to do more on this. I just want to thank everybody for watching. You may or may not got everything. This is recorded, so it's on our Facebook Live. I will post it on our page, CC Realty, and we will have Robert back. Just, you know, folks, I have children at the end of the day. I can get off the fence and make a difference. And in Canada, it's still one of the most economical places to live, and there's so much opportunity here. It's a beautiful thing to see that we now have potential to build our communities. They could be smart, they could be green, they could be totally eco-efficient, and working with people that care at the end of the day, that's dear to my heart. So without any further ado, folks, just have a wonderful, wonderful Thursday. And we're getting close to Canada Day, so I'm going to express Happy Canada Day week because I don't want to just do one day. That's on Wednesday of next week. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. We will be we may have Roy Cleves with us next week, who is the accidental real estate millionaire. And really, really happy to have everybody here. Have a wonderful weekend. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Bye, everyone, for now.